Mrs. Fortescue.
Oh, Miss Marple.
What a surprise.
Oh, let me introduce you. This is my husband, Lancelot. This is Miss Marple.
How do you do?
My sincere condolences.
Thank you.
Miss Marple knew Gladys,
Gladys.
the parlourmaid, with the peg on her nose.
Oh, Gladys. Poor thing.
Yes, there now seems little doubt that she saw or heard something.
Oh, really?
Yes, she said as much to Mrs. Crump. But the question is, what?
You sound like a professional, Miss Marple.
Oh, no, Mr. Fortescue. My interest is purely personal. I was very fond of Gladys, you see. And I must say Inspector Neil has been most sympathetic. I do love gardens, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I have to admit they're rather a passion of mine. Then, of course, there's this whole business of blackbirds.
Blackbirds?
Yes, Mr. Fortescue. They came up in a little chat I just had with Mr. Crump. He mentioned them. Or should I say it. If I remember correctly, the phrase he used was the blackbird. So strange, don't you think?
Good Lord, I bet he's referring to the old Blackbird mine.
What was that, Mr. Fortescue?
It's some transaction my father was involved in years ago now, with a chap called Mackenzie, a mine on the west coast of Africa. Mackenzie died out there of a fever, and his wife had other ideas, and she came round here with her 2 kids and caused a terrific stink. I wonder what happened to Mrs. Mackenzie and those kids. They must be grown up by now.
As far as we know, you were the last person to see Adele Fortescue alive.
The last but one, Inspector?
Yes. So it was about 5:20 when you left the room, is that right?
About then. I can't say exactly.
And when you and Mrs. Fortescue were alone, what did you talk about?
We talked about Gerald. Gerald arrived, eh? He's checked in at the hotel.
I wouldn't have thought that was his style at all.
What's that supposed to mean?
Mixing with the money. I thought it'd be against his principles.
Well, at least he has some.
I'm surprised his teacher's salary stretches that far.
Which is one of the reasons I'm thinking of asking him to stay here. You wouldn't mind, would you?
It's all the same to me. Though I'd have thought you could do a lot better for yourself now.
How do you mean?
Well, with your poor father gone, what with the will and that, you're suddenly a bit of a catch. You'll have the young men swarming like bees round a honey pot. They won't mind what you look like anymore.
So you and Gerald Wright, are you courting?
Courting? How frightfully old-fashioned. But then you're such a gent, aren't you, Inspector? Yes. Gerald and I are now planning to get married.
Now?
Now Daddy's dead. He was very hurtful to Gerald. In fact, Gerald was so upset that I didn't hear from him for weeks.
But now he's back again.
I wired him when Father died.
And what did you do after leaving Mrs. Fortescue?
I went for a walk. Short walk?
To the Baden Heath Golf Hotel?
Yes. But Gerald wasn't in. Is that all, Inspector?
You can't tell me anything about blackbirds, can you?
The ones in Daddy's pie?
When was this?
3 or 4 months ago. He was furious.
Do you know who put them there?
I haven't the faintest idea. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, one more thing, Miss Fortescue. Did your stepmother make a will?
People usually do, don't they?
Have you?
No.
Gladys, really?
So it was 20 to 5.
Yes. We have been over this before, Inspector.
Precision is all, Miss Duff. And you were coming from...
Upstairs. I thought I'd heard the telephone a few minutes before.
Have you served tea yet, Gladys? It's not 4:30 yet, miss. It's 20 minutes to 5, Gladys. Who was that on the telephone? Wrong number, miss.
Where's tea?
It's just coming, Mrs. Fortescue. She brought the first tea tray into the sitting room about 10 minutes later.
And that was the last time you saw her?
Yes.
At last.
Then Miss Fortescue came in some minutes later.
Gosh, it's freezing.
I was going to tell Mrs. Percival that tea was ready. I thought I heard her coming, but that was a mistake.
You heard someone moving about upstairs?
Yes, at the head of the stairs, I thought. But then no one came down, so I went up.
Oh, I didn't realize you'd been out. Tea is served.
And that was...
Nearly 5, I think.
And when did Lancelot arrive?
A few minutes after I came downstairs again. I thought he'd arrived earlier, but...
Why did you think that?
Because I thought I'd caught sight of him through the landing window.
In the garden?
Yes.
After telling Jennifer Fortescue that tea was ready?
No, not then. It was earlier, when I came down the first time.
Are you sure about that, Miss Duff?
Perfectly. That's why I was surprised when he actually did ring the doorbell.
Mr. Lancelot?
Himself.
Then it couldn't have been him that you saw in the garden. His train was due at 4:40. So the earliest he could have got here would have been just before 5.
But I'm sure I saw someone.
Yes, but not clearly. It was getting dark by then.
I didn't see his face, but he was a tall, slender man. I simply presumed it was him.
Where was he going?
Behind the hedge towards the east side of the house.
And is there a side door there?
Yes.
So someone could have got in unobserved.
You mean the person I heard upstairs?
Something like that.
So who was it?
That remains to be seen. By the way, you couldn't tell me anything about blackbirds, I suppose.
I'm sorry?
Blackbirds.
Do you mean...
Blackbirds, Miss Duff.
Are you referring to that silly business last summer?
Yes.
It was just a ridiculous, spiteful joke. 4 dead blackbirds were left in Mr. Fortescue's desk, in his study here.
Why would anyone do a thing like that?
I really don't know, Inspector.
Dear Gladys, lots of nice-looking girls here, but not one that's a patch on you. Be seeing you soon. Don't forget our date. And then it's happy ever after. Love, Bert. Gladys.
Can I help you?
Three murders in 2 days. How very upsetting. It's not been too pleasant. Have you any idea who could do something like that?
It's hard to say. The whole household, you see, is really quite odious.
You feel no especial loyalty to your employers then, mister?
It's a job, Miss Marple, and one I do to the best of my ability. People will pay anything to be spared domestic worries.
I'm sure Mrs. Fortescue found you invaluable.
Oh, seaside manicurist, what on earth would she know?
She was younger than Mr. Fortescue, I understand.
By some 30 years. Percival and Elaine were simply livid about it. And Percival especially couldn't bear the thought that she might get her hands, however well manicured, on his father's money. Economy, you see, is Percival's passion. His only passion, in fact. Well, it's hardly surprising when you look at his wife.